Good morning, Professor and everyone.
Hi.
Yesterday I supposed to join, but I got my vaccine shot for the first time. So, I missed the opportunity to come. And I cannot turn off my video right now. But so glad to see you guys here. I'm Tita. I'm from TSIS, Chung-Ang University, and right now I'm in my third year, second semester. And my major is global affairs and trade. So looking forward to a great discussion today and wish you all good luck to the speakers. Thank you.
Good morning, Sunye.
Good morning.
Well, actually, I didn't expect there's so many people in here, even in this early morning. Actually, this is my first time to be a moderator, and this is early morning. Usually, I actually served in my moderator position in the afternoon, so my condition always kind of okay with the afternoon, but I don't know about my condition in the morning. So please just bear with me. Okay, let's check on this. Wow, we actually have it included by sub 24 people in here. It's quite a large. I really wish that we do actually have offline conference in this type of thing. So hopefully next time, definitely we will meet in person to person, right? Great.
Maybe Theos, you can check your mic if it's okay, we can hear you or not.
Yes, sure. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, welcome Theos. You have good background, your country and Korea. Nice.
So I'm going to check.
Okay, hello everybody. Okay, let me open our session today. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the second day of CASTACE's webinar. I'm Sunny Chun, Dean of GSIS of Chung-Ang University. Today's webinar is part of a series of conferences held to review the educational experiences and challenges confronted by Asian countries during the COVID-19 pandemic. The theme of the webinar today is COVID-19 pandemic and online education, case of South Korea. Education experts from policy authorities, academia, and research institutions from Korea are invited to discuss various issues related to the hybrid learning, ICT, educational inequality, and future education in South Korea. In particular, we are pleased to have students as roundtable panelists today. We look forward to hearing their learning and educational experiences in South Korea during pandemic. The webinar is organized by Center for the Study of Grand Strategy of Chung-Ang University in cooperation with the GSIS of Chung-Ang University, Reconciliation and Coexistence in the Contact Zones and Political Dialogue Asia program of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. The webinar is financially supported by Konrad Adenauer Stiftung from Germany, and we would like to express our sincere thanks to KAS. Throughout the seminar, the Korean-English simultaneous interpretation will be provided by the AITP students at GSIS of Chung-Ang University. Speakers today will be presenting in English, and if you want to listen to the webinar in Korean, please go to the bottom of your Zoom screen and click the shape of the globe symbol and choose Korean language. Also, please note that the webinar is recorded throughout the event and it is broadcasted via YouTube channel real time. YouTube channel address will be announced in the chatting screen. The webinar is 1.5 days long, and we had a very interesting session yesterday already. Today is our second day, and we are having only morning session, which will last 2 hours. Now, in order to start our session today, let me turn the microphone to the second session chair, Professor Hae-Young Jang. Professor Hae-Young Jang is from International Political Departments at Chung-Ang University. Professor Jang's specialty is the area of international development and cooperation and ODA, Official Development Assistance. She is giving various advices to the government agencies on issues such as public diplomacy and international development cooperation. Now let's give a warm welcome to Professor Jang. Professor Jang.
Hello and welcome. Okay, hello and welcome everyone to our session today. So as I actually, Professor Jang explained very calmly about this whole session today. So I would like to just introduce myself very briefly, and then we will start our third session. So my name is Hae-Young Jang. I'm an assistant professor of the Department of Political Science and International Relations in Chung-Ang University. Today, I'll be serving as your moderator. So as you know, we had a wonderful session yesterday, and each session, I'm pretty sure that every presenter shared their expert knowledge and the detailed analysis regarding the various challenges everybody faces in the education field under pandemic situation, right? So following yesterday, today we will have another informative session, and in particular, as the Professor John actually mentioned, about this student roundtable. So therefore, I expected all participants in this session to have the education expert experience and opinion at the same time to describe the student from diverse nationality with timely topics. After the presentation, we will finish with a session with the Q&A with all speakers as well as the audience. So please just join our very exciting new session. So we have actually two distinguished speakers, Dr. Jun-Bum Shin at Chung-Ang University and Mr. Ashwini Kumar Darkal at CAU, right? So it's my pleasure to introduce the first speaker, Dr. Jun-Bum Shin at CAU. Dr. Shin is currently working as a director of the OIA at Chung-Ang University. He will be speaking to us on the CAU experience under COVID-19 and its implications. Dr. Shin, you will have 20 minutes for the presentation, right? So stage is all yours, please.
Okay. Thanks for kind introduction, Dr. Jang, and GSIS 전선에. And first of all, it's my honor to be here as a presenter with distinguished other presenters, and I am very pleased to have you all and good opportunity to share the ideas regarding the current pandemic issues. Also, actually, I have learned many things during the yesterday's session. Arguably, those contents gonna be good resource to organize the newly advanced plan to my university on the overall globalization in the future. Okay. As and introduce people, I'm the Dr. Shin of the Director of International Affairs at Chung-Ang University. Also, I am the teaching in International Relations on graduate School of International Studies, 국제대학원에서. Today, I'm gonna deliver my presentation titled on CAU experience under the COVID-19 and its implication. Okay. The people we get started, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the background of the current world. As you know, until now, the United States and the Western European developed countries, and also Korea, South Korea, have been operated that effective national systems are working to respond to the threat of public health, such as pandemic COVID-19. However, it has revealed the lack of successful national capability for the crisis response, such as the member of the government and the absence of a crisis management system in well design. However, in contrast to this, developed countries of public health have developed a manualized and quarantine standard in doing the global cooperation within the short period of time. And finally, we got the vaccine to welcome the new normal life. In other words, the COVID-19 situation is a great catastrophe for mankind, but the mankind is rapidly creating and adapting to the new environment in line with the Charles Darwin's survival of fittest 적자 생존 within the global system of cooperation. Arguably, I think a higher education system of each state lie in this context. The MOE, the Ministry of Education, and many universities in each country are struggling for protection and evolving to and embracing COVID-19 in short period of time in various ways. Okay, in this perspective, I'd like to carry out my talk today. Very shortly, briefly. Okay, my talks are two parts. One is being focused on the fact data of Chung-Ang University and South Korea during recent years COVID-19 era, and the other is regarding its implication in accordance with the some kinds of the countermeasure or solution. Okay, I'm gonna share my presentation. Okay. You see? Okay. This first page, let's see the basic the information about the Chung-Ang University. We have top 10 university in South Korea, and we are my university private school. We have the 605 partner university from each 66 countries, and we have two campuses, Seoul and Ansong. Ansong is one of apart from the Seoul by car, and we have the almost 30,000 students, and including the undergraduate level, and we have almost 4,000 international students, including the exchange level. The language courses, and the 15 colleges, 19 graduate school. We have more than the 3,000 professors, distinguished professors and staff. Okay, next page. This is this slide contains the major and college in detail. My university, you can see in the old department of my university. Okay, I will skip this slide. Okay, on next 3 pages, I am about to explain the incoming international student status with the numbers. First, you see, as seen in the number 1, recent 5 years come to Korea, the number of international students coming to Korea in this year of the outbreak of COVID-19 in 2020 sharply decreased to minus 4%. You see, until 2019, the number of international students coming to Korea increased by more than 10% on average year. This data is from the Korean Ministry of Education, 교육부 국립국제교육원. Unfortunately, the data for 2021 has not been updated yet, so let's look at other data that could import to 2021. Okay, next, if you look at the data below, number 2, this figure one collected by myself directly from the foreign policy in the headquarters of Ministry of Justice Korea, 법무부 외국인 정책본부. This data is the number of D4 visa types that required to study in Korea for a degree program. Also in this figure, you can see the number of students increased by an average of 10% or more every year until 2019, but it dropped sharply by about minus 10% in 2020 when the COVID-19 outbreak took place. By the way, the figures for the 2020 academic year probably did not require a visa because there were many international students, especially freshmen, taking online classes in the offshore. I mean, they took place classes in their homeland through the web system using Zoom. So I think it'll be the lower than the Ministry of Education minus 4% figure. In any case, we can see the figure for 2021 rising sharply again. If we assume that a situation where online classes are conducted at university in South Korea, it can be understood that I think the number is significantly large. And if you look at the table below, you can see the proportion of students from the Asia among the international students studying in Korea continue to be large. I think the Chinese students are number 1. Okay, we're gonna see the next slide. Okay, first, let me explain before looking at this graph. Chung-Ang University is one of the top 3 university in Korea, South Korea, for number of international students. In fact, Chung-Ang University did not decrease the number of students even during the Corona crisis, but rather they increased it slightly. And undergraduate student has increased by about to 12% annually over the past 3 years, and the graduate students have increased by 7% roughly. Although it would be a bit surprising situation, but perhaps as a successful strategy, we strengthen the online, the virtual, the promotion, and quickly change the communication channel in using SNS such as the WeChat. You know, the WeChat that we bought the business account, which is preferred by the Chinese student. Those are the majority, the largest portion in South Korea, as well as my university. In addition to that, in Korea, South Korea, we do enduring the communication with the prospective students who are interested in Chung-Ang University through the KakaoTalk open channel, YouTube channel, the open platform, the possible to easy access, which they like the most. Okay, and finally, it seems that the quick transition, into the system. A good system that allows international students to apply online in their home countries has become another effective student recruitment strategy too. Okay, next. Yeah, this page is interesting. I think it's table analyzing the enrollment and the break of undergraduate international student at Chung-Ang University. Annual means the 재학, 불액, break it 휴학. We'll look at the last 7 years. As you can see, the numbers that keep growing. Remarkable implication in this figure is that the number of students on leave absence increased to 549 only in the first semester of 2020, the first semester after the first outbreak of COVID-19, and then rapidly the decreased back to the previous level in the second semester of 2020. I mean, the immediate following semester. You can see in summary, in looking at the various figures, Korean, the Chung-Ang University, we are able to find out to follow. The first, it is impossible to prevent natural catastrophe such as the COVID-19, and this is beyond the human capability. But the impact is very temporary in the current state-centric system and global cooperation system. I mean, only affected to the only one semester right after the first phase of COVID-19 outbreak, just only in terms of looking at the number. Okay. Second, the university have rapidly evolved into system, such as the metaverse. I heard the yesterday session, compound the word meta in the first universe, like in the expanded the MOOC, massively online open courses, and the COIL, corporate online internet learning, and the virtual campus, something like that, to quickly, to satisfy student interest at the BYOB principle, bring your own 수익자 부담 원칙, beneficiary fund principle. I don't know exactly the name. In a way, this is similar to principle of the natural selection, in which the survival of the fittest I mentioned before. However, in modern time, the process has been shortened compared to in the past in the direction of peaceful and cooperation, such as the development of communications technology and the elevation of information asymmetry. And the fact that they are open platform that increase the efficiency of the communication that makes this possible is also on the advantages. All of these help minimize the impact of catastrophes such as COVID-19. They help us face a new normal life combined with new alternative taught by the crisis. Okay. In this part, I will briefly give you a few examples how Chung-Ang University concept and start and strength a new program or project during the COVID-19 era. Frankly, we had time to try something new because we couldn't physically go on the business trip abroad due to the COVID-19. We were much time, okay, to work. My university had a unique plan for international students compared to the other university, in South Korea, 연세, 한양, blah blah. Okay, Chung-Ang University distribute a special budget, a portion of the income from the tuition fee to the department to support international students so that they can adjust to their major education and university life. In that kind of sense, we expect that and assign a special advisor to support for international students, intensive measures to do the establishment of study guidance and the counseling system for international students by each academic unit to decrease the drop rate and promote exchange atmosphere with Korean students. This program is divided into each group: student, assistant to student, researcher to student, and professor student, divided in stage. In addition, in terms of service, is support subject, non-subject, 그러니까 교과 and 비교과, and so student satisfaction can be expected to improve. We call the project name as CA Chung-Ang University Academic Advisor System for International Students. in order to the review the program every semester to suggest a new plan, new solution. The head professor or international student from the all department together online and they conduct a meeting to discuss. This project is invest more than $1 million US dollars a year financially. It is one of the projects we can proud of that Korean student, international student as well as professor. Okay. Okay. This page is a project conducted directly by 국제교류팀 OIA. I'm working here. I'm director of the university headquarters as in the control tower to on-campus globalization. 대학 본부에서 하는 프로그램입니다. Why the project described on the previous page is this project that the OIA allocated support. This project is supported by managed by the control tower OIA within the overall international students from the all department. This philosophy has MBO, and management by objective that build up the easy network international student to international student. The Korean student to international student give opportunity the campus on-campus internship connectable to Korean society as a part of the globalization. I mean, easy and quick solution is supporting within the multiple languages. We call the triple S, student support system. In this program, international student and Korean student understand the Korean university system and social environment through the on-campus internship opportunity. The help for the Polish student to adapt and build a relationship with the students. Through this program, students can develop the tolerance for others, respect each other for global citizenship, and foster genuine members of Chung-Ang University. I think more than 300 students participate in this program every year, and contributing to the advanced globalization Chung-Ang University for global student leader. You see, the Carlist means the CA leaders of IS. The focusing on the degree student by international students, and this is global ambassador the focusing on the non-degree student organized by the Korean student. Okay, many supporters, many open platform to understand, talk, communicate with each other. Okay, next. Okay, from this page to several next, the official fact sheet, the appendix relating with the program I mentioned before. I will skip quickly because of time. I think the constraints through the systematic activity, it is possible to understand that there is an effective interaction between the inter-agent of university. This is the official report form. This is the evaluation each department. This is the activity report, including time, content. Okay. This is communication language exchange example. What the communication using the WeChat to the Chinese student, almost Chinese student, and we used the Zoom as well. And this is the in part of the academic mentor, academic mentoring in majors, regular mentoring, and assignment feedback to improve their major skill. This is over the university-wide level, the school life assistance. This is the example that how to refund the tuition fee the certain period. Okay, we can help with the international student to through the this WeChat. This is feedback exchange. Okay, that is comment. Okay. This page is about the student and the satisfaction survey. We start a new comprehensive campus satisfaction survey after the outbreak of COVID-19. As I mentioned earlier, that we have time to create a new project. In the past, there were the various satisfaction survey level of student support center, but this is the first time that integrate a university-wide satisfaction survey conducted by my office, headquarters, Chung-Ang University. Okay, based on this survey feedback, we are working to share with some. In the first year of 2020, the 48 questions were asked in about the 4 fields, and about the 500 students respond to briefly introduce the result. About 67% of the administrative subjects are within the satisfaction range. You can see. And on next page, the major subject are 3% higher than the liberal arts subject. 전공 과목이 경영 과목보다 3% 더 높고요, 만족도가. Regarding discrimination, is very important side. A hot topic these days, the dissatisfaction with the discrimination between the students, the professors, and the inter-students appeared at the finding ways to overcome this dissatisfaction. Image and new task. You can see.
You have 2 minutes left. Could you wrap up a little bit
really?
faster, please? Yes.
Okay. I skipped this slide. Okay. Yeah, to overcome the multicultural diversity, a brief survey to eliminate the racial discrimination on campus. Hashtag campaign launched in 2020 this year, this semester, based on the social network system which students can easily participate in. We are planning to carry out the projects to share contents and give a reward. We have designed this project initially as the thinking crisis into opportunity, the elevating the racism and hate, especially caused by COVID-19, encourage tolerance and global citizenship, respect cultural diversity. We expect to limit the discrimination against the multicultural and foreign internet students on campus. We're gonna give the Starbucks gift code to excellent post a reward every week. Okay. This project developed when real-time COVID-19 to prevent the situation in which internet students lose their self-esteem in class due to the language barrier and Korean language barrier. Lose their motivation to learn as a result. We started the Korean language proof reading service in cooperation with the outside solution development agents that based on the external professional platform. Chung-Ang University developing its own specific web solution, matching and proof reading between students, similar majors, and finally we interactive evaluation system, rating system was introduced to implement a participant and the center system. Okay. Last one. Last one. Okay, give me the 1 minute.
Okay.
The virtual global campus in the era of COVID-19 will open a representative the CAU lecture series on the internet. In South Korea, the native language is not English. However, for the globalization, the campus, there were clearing the linguistic limitation for Korean professor to teach in English in terms of the qualification. So to supplement the Korean professors to teach, we wanted to improve the quality of class by freely conducting the most popular and the interesting, excellent lectures in Korean and translating English and Chinese into subtitle. Okay. Fortunately, Chung-Ang University, we have the excellent department, the interpretation translation of the program in the graduate school of international studies. We are developing courses in close cooperation with the GSIS. The huge cost required for development being supported by Korean government university innovation support project. Okay. 대학 혁신 지원 사업. Okay. Literally 1 minute. Last comment. In the era of the COVID-19, we have briefly review situation in student Korea and the Chung-Ang University. Interest various programs that the Chung-Ang University has responded. As it would be a sad story, but mankind cannot predict or prevent the catastrophe in the natural nature in advance. However, if the culture of cooperation became the norm, the technology accelerated further. The crisis will always take place as a part of the new evolution. It is important for a university to draw the blueprint for the distant future. But if you focus on the reality and to try to solve it, there will be innovation and evolution to new paths. Thank you for listening to my humble presentation. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, thank you so much for Dr. Chen for the very fascinating presentation. I wish we have a little bit more time to actually say something more about this one, but obviously we actually definitely have a Q&A session. So if there are any more comments, definitely will be there in the Q&A session. Thank you very much again. Okay. Okay, next, it's my another pleasure to introduce Mr. Ashwini Kumar Darkar at Chung-Ang University. Mr. Ashwini Kumar Darkar was from the Nepal and one of the alumni at the GSIS at the Chung-Ang University with the Korean government scholarship. He is currently working at the e-commerce related Korean company. Also, he contributed as an international coordinator for this webinar, which I really appreciate it. So he will present the title of International Student Adapting to the Post-COVID Online Classes in Korea, Challenges, Opportunities, and Perspectives. So you also have the 20 minutes for the presentation. So stage is all yours, please.
Thank you so much. And good morning again, Professor and everyone. It's been a pleasure to share some of the real-time experience with you. I'm Ashwini, as he already introduced me. So I studied from Chung-Ang University, GSIS. I graduated last semester. So currently I'm working in one of the Korean companies, as well as one international organization as a part-time, and it is paid internship. So I'm trying to present that as much as I can to represent all of the international students regarding their problems, the opportunities, and the prospects of their staying in Korea. And we have students who will share more real-time experience in this 2021. So without being delayed, let me share my presentation. Is it okay? My share, fine, right? Okay, thank you. So, like Korea is one of the major education hub for international studies, not only for this year, especially since the beginning of 21st century, because of their advanced education system, technology, and expertise in university and all over the field. Students are attracted every year, and they're coming up until 2019 or 2020. The rate is increasing, but with Corona, slowly it's decreasing, as the previous presenter mentioned. So in the beginning, I will try to show the basic information of international students currently in Korea. So in the beginning of 2019, the number of students entering to Korea in the first half, that is first semester, is quite big. It's like 185,000, including like all kind of students. It was a quite big, large number, right? So if we, in a span of 2 years, like in 2021 first semester, the data went really sharply down, and it is 34,000. So there is a big gap. So it is like even less than 20% of like what was in 2019 first semester. There is a big gap, and the main challenge for Korea and for the Korean educational system is to fill that gap and attract more students in post-COVID area. But that was a big challenge, and this presentation also tried to address some of the points regarding that matter. Also, let me share these two graphs that where the student prefer to study in Korea. So it says that normally private universities are having more and more international students, maybe because of it's relatively easier to get enrolled, and the national universities has less than 10,000, and the public and other universities are in the lower phase, which is less than 5%, below 100,000, right? And next is the area. Of course, Seoul is the capital city of Korea, biggest hub. So most of the students are in Seoul, which are almost 44,000, and then remaining Gyeonggi-do, Busan, and the Daegu, it accounts less than 10%. So this is the basic data what international students are having currently. This is data of 2020 actually, so please refer to that. So the problem is, once the COVID started, how did they adapt? How did they react to the initial situation, right? But always when the problem happens, the initial reaction is very key, because the COVID was not expected by anyone. It was unprecedented. And for international student, being in another country itself is a challenge, and to face COVID in that environment is even a bigger challenge. So the initial reaction is quite difficult. So the first thing that comes, even I experienced, because I finished my graduation last year. So I took my classes last semester of my classes through online. So I had my real-time experience as well. The first thing is the big dilemma that, okay, should I continue my study in Korea or should I take a break? Even the previous presenter said the dropout some data. So international students went through that phase that should they continue or should they take a break? Because nobody knows what will the future holding, because they don't know when the COVID will end, how the education system will progress in next semester or in the years to come. So that was the big challenge that we had to face. And also, international student in Korea, there are two kind of category. One is exchange student who come for short term, maybe for one semester, or some of the case 1 year. And another is enrolled student who study regular time for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years based on their program. For exchange student, it was more difficult because they have short time to adapt. They don't know the culture, they don't know the new environment. So they were trying to enjoy their educational journey, but with COVID, they faced more ups and downs. And for that, I put the term roller coaster, as it is fun, but also scary, right? However, in case of enrolled student, it's quite relatively easier because they have time to adapt. They have time to adapt the whole situation, and they can collect all the information and get through the process. So to react this challenge is not only student can react, but there is a university and there is a government. So these three parties are involved directly to adapt the beginning phase. And I'm really happy and quite astonished that the university and government of Korea actually responded quite well, because at the beginning they don't have enough resources to act upon, because it was, even for them, it is unprecedented. So what they did is, for university level, they provide enough information. Even in the Chung-Ang University GSIS, they were emailing students, giving the information how the classes will be handled, how you will be taken care of. Now, they are providing instruction to students, professor. So that helped to that adapting process. And from the government side, they would try to protect students, especially international students, that they allow them to enter. They provided quarantine facilities. They check their regular health inspection, status, and they are also investing on infrastructure and capacity development. So these things really played a big role to adapt the beginning phase, which is like 2020 first semester. So from February, March, April, that period where the normally first semester begins. So it was the initial reaction. Then the next phase comes once you deal with the situation, like the COVID situation. The main job is to learn, because you are a student. The main job is to teach for teachers and to learn by the students, right? So as in yesterday's presentations, most of the things were explained really well, that how the government and university conducted classes. So basically, as we know, there are like real-time classes, which are face-to-face on real-time, and recorded classes where students can take whenever they feel comfortable. and other is to share online materials, homeworks, everything through online platform. And what I like is that, because if you think, there are a lot of international students in Korea from underdeveloped or developing countries who doesn't have this kind of platform like e-class portal system, so they are not used to it. However, Korea is practicing this for a long time, so those students, even before the corona, they had this kind of experience, e-class, learning through e-class, uploading their homeworks as assignment, getting materials. So that played to some extent played a nice part in adapting this online mechanism, the online learning mechanism. And last one is, okay, once you take the class, the evaluation period. Teachers has to evaluate student grade. Students also evaluate themselves, their performance. It was a tricky things actually, right? Because it's different than the real offline and the online. And I read some of the papers that actually student grade was quite not impressive. The performance was not impressive compared to the offline classes. So these are the teaching learning approaches that happened in Korea post COVID-19 period. So biggest challenge is, so of course there are the challenges, because I already mentioned that being in a foreign country is a big challenge. Being in a country with different language, different culture, different environment is another challenge. And being in that situation in COVID period is like the even like difficult period. So the first challenge is the mental health. It's not only for international student, even for the local student, but relatively, I believe that international students had to go through more and more those kind of mental difficulties. You know, since the social distancing, they have to be alone in their dormitory or in their room. They cannot interact with their country, like with their country or foreign students, with local students. They have to feel homesickness, and they have to worry about their health, because you can catch COVID in any time. So there is not like stable thinking at any point. So it was a big challenge to cope up with. Even myself, I went through that period. Like it was hard for me to like mentally to cope up with this as a student during this period. Next is language barriers, of course. Like, you know, most of the things in Korea, in university, even the lectures and the classes are in Korean. So you can imagine the difficulties in language barriers. And some of the university, I went to a few university website before making this presentation. Of course, Chung-Ang University GSIS is in English. We get a lot of information in English, so it's easy for us to understand. However, some universities in other part of the Seoul or out of Seoul as providing most of the notices in Korean. So maybe students have difficulties to get that kind of information to tackle with the situation. That was one of the barriers. And of course, social interaction and learning was like restricted because of the COVID and the social distancing. And last one, another one is immigration policy. It's a big challenges. It's a complicated issue, not only for students, for also for the other immigrants and workers. So the Korean government, you know, they had to change immigration policy based on the situation, how the situation unfolds. And they induced re-entry permissions, quarantine, and other like listing countries in the red list, red area. So let me give you one example of re-entry, why it is complicated. For example, if I want to go to my country during my study because someone in my family is sick, so I had to take re-entry permission even though I have visa, because my country is listed in the red area, right? So I had to show them someone is admitted in the hospital, the diagnostic report, and everything should be in English and notarized. So the overall process is complicated, and the regulation keep changing. So it's difficult to understand what's happening for some of the international students, and on top of that, language barrier. Next is this is also like, I think most of the students now we have here also are thinking their future after the post job market, right? So they are also unsure about how the situation going to unfold with the disruption of, you know, like production and market. The job security is getting lower in pandemic period. Even in Korea, millions of jobs has been lost during that period, even though slowly it's getting like better, but still the problem is there. And the quality of education is, of course, it went quite low compared to offline education, and especially for the like accounting subjects or numerical subjects where they need in person-to-person guidance. they had some kind of difficulties. And for teacher and student, it is difficult sometimes at points to make class more interactive, interesting. Sometimes, the Zoom classes are like 2 hours to 3 hours. So it becomes monotonous, whether teachers will talk for 2 hours and even they ask some students are not responding. So the class become monotonous, right? And less interactive. So that was another challenges. I will come up with some of the cases after this. And the last point, I think I already mentioned in the previous slides. So let me present some of the cases of international students, how they faced in this situation. And we have, I think we will have more information from the student after this. It's a little bit long, so I'll just try to make it brief. So one student, she came to Korea during 2019 second semester, and she was trying to adjust to the education system, the culture, language, and she was enjoying. And then she went back to her home country during the vacation, and then Corona started hitting hard all over the country. So since the Korea and even the other part of the world that they started having online classes, it is not necessary to come back to Korea just to have online classes sitting in your room. You rather sit in your home country than take classes, right? So, but what happened was that students were thinking this is just for one semester. However, it continued for the next, and the next. So overall master period, 2 years period, she had to finish back in her home. However, she paid everything in Korea, and she was expecting to enjoy that abroad studies experience. So she was totally couldn't experience any of this, and she got disappointed with the effectiveness of the learning classes. This is one case. Next case is quite similar. A student came to Korea under the government scholarship, and he went. Pardon me, I need to drink. So he went back to his country during vacation. However, his flight were cancelled because of the COVID restriction, and his visa got cancelled. So he couldn't get visa on time, so he had to take leave for 2 semesters. And he come back. When he come back, he lost his scholarship. And he had to pay for his tuition. He had to pay for his allowances. So you can understand the investment in time and money. It's quite a big gap, right? So this is another challenge, even though it's not only related to education, but still, this is the case of Korean student in Korea. Last case is this is a bit positive, that one student is in the final semester. Because of the COVID and online classes, he had enough time to finish his research because he doesn't need to go to the classes. He can save his time and energy, and he can focus on his research. However, in his mind, he knows that he is going to graduate after 3 months. So what will be the future? Now I'm having great time because I have time, but after the COVID, all the plan got changed, right? And there is nothing is certain because the situation is keep changing and changing. So these are some cases, and I know there are a lot of cases. So what does these cases imply? The first thing is psychological impact. It's not for now, but for long term, because students invested money and time in Korea to get more opportunities and exposure. However, they had to do everything back in their country. So they invested their money and time. And after that, they had to recover from that money and time, which they actually didn't quite become useful, and they couldn't utilize it properly. So this thing actually what we have to understand is that I think this kind of things will impact in 5 years time or in 3 years time, in long run time as well, because after the education they have to go into real field and compete with this manpower, right? So with not sufficient knowledge, it's difficult to cope with this the future. So the main thing is how the government of Korea, university, and concerned authority, they will coordinate to develop cognitive wise to education level, to make the high level, keep making in the high level, and also to make sure that there are enough better career opportunities even after the post-COVID period. So this is the question that has to be addressed. So, and again, there is always opportunity in crisis. Even so, during this period for international students, they had some students like the case number 3. There is enough space and time because you are in your home, in your room, spending a lot of time, so you can explore more and more. One of the presenter in yesterday's sessions said that actually students learn more than going to the offline session because he can explore more information just sitting in her room. That is one of the opportunities the student can have. Next is part-time jobs, freelance, and remote work. It's crucial for a student to make some money to ease their financial burden. And because of this, during the COVID period, we see that a lot of freelancing and remote work was available because everything is happening online. So this is a big opportunity for international students because they can utilize their time in this kind of work. And actually, most of the students, they did. And also from the corona, what we understood that, okay, there should be changes in technology, changes in the way the paradigm shift in terms of technological education, future education. So the new phenomena has arrived that we need to have change, and that is a positive part of the corona. And also teachers, most of the teachers who were from like previous generation, let's say like who were from 1990s, so they are obliged and they had to know, they even have to learn these new techniques, new approaches in their teaching process, right? Because this is actually grow for teachers, and if teachers grow, it's also better for students. So this also poses opportunity for teachers. And of course, there are a lot of innovative learning ideas after this post-COVID-19. Yesterday, if I remember, Professor Park Nam-gi, he presented really well that there are a lot of opportunities, even like virtual class, where you feel like it's online, but you feel like it's offline with 3D virtual lecture background. So there are a lot of innovative ideas, and I think we will see more in the near future. So how can we tackle the challenges? That's the most important thing. So the first point is there should be more after-school tutoring programs, right? Because at least we can meet 1, 2, 3% group, even though last gathering in mass is difficult, but a student can gather at least 2 to 3 people in person. So if the university or if the government provides some kind of one-on-one small interaction group or mentoring or co-curricular activities after the online classes or after the school, it tried to at least recover some of the lapses that they had felt during the online classes. So that's actually really important. And what we can get from this approach is that it balances the cognitive approach and the learning, developing your socio-emotional skills. So you are also learning something, and you are also interacting with local Koreans, let's say, or Koreans are interacting with foreigners in one-on-one person actually. So this is kind of blended in notion. Next is, of course, there should be more and more funding, because since this whole situation is new, more investment should be there, more funding should be there, and more collaboration should be there. And to support lack of resources and promote engagement in students' learning activities. And last one is the pragmatic immigration procedure. As I already mentioned some of the challenges that immigration system has. So maybe when making about some policy mechanism, at least students, representatives or student union, university and government, and the immigration office, they all should collaborate or should like go through some kind of research or study before making some like visa application procedure, re-entry procedure, or quarantine procedure, because education is quite different field, right? And last one is investment. I already mentioned about this point. Also, I have a bit less time. So this is my last part of my presentation, perspective. So we know we cannot go back to the before corona phases. It's quite understandable. So we have to deal what's happening, and we have to deal with what's coming. So what is the prospect these overall things bring, and also from the angle of international student. So I already told that Korea is big education hub for foreign students. And one of the main reasons is that not only because they are technically advanced, educationally expert, and they are not discriminating like foreigners and anything, but another main impact, main power is that they are soft power through their art, music, food, fashion. Most of the international students want to come, they are impressed with those kind of social values, and they want to mix their education and those values, and they want to learn in kind of cognitive level, in social level. So that is a big asset for Korea actually. We know like BTS, I think most of the students, some of my friends come here because of BTS, but that is a positive sign because that is a motivation for them to come, but they also learn. So the challenge for Korea is that this international student is asset for them too, because they will, once they finish their study, they will go all over the world and they will spread the Korean influence all over the world. They will spread the soft power of Korea. So international community holds very big place in Korean paradigm. So how the government and university try to deal with this situation now, because students are not coming much because of the corona. So they had to attract more and more students in future. Also, there are a lot of reports saying that most of the university, they are not having enough students locally, the Korean students. And also there is a population problem in Korea because the young population is decreasing, old population is increasing. So they have to address those kind of challenges, and this should be the long-term project. They have to think from now till next 5 or 30 years and 50 years. So I think these things has to be considered from now on. I know it's already been under process, but also it's better, more important in this post-pandemic era. And one important thing that we know that is that the pandemic showed us that education cannot be stopped. No matter what sort of problem you face, it cannot be stopped, right? Because we thought we're having a lot of difficulties, but since these online classes, we know that, okay, it is possible, it is feasible. So one new opportunity we have is that, for example, if someone from, let's say, developing countries wants to expose himself in a developing country's educational environment, but he is not capable of it, he cannot afford it. So what he can do is, instead of coming to Korea or coming to US or going to Europe, he can have that kind of virtual experiences being sitting in his country. So the pandemic shows that that kind of mechanism is possible. I can do my one semester exchange student online in Korea, doing everything Korea, but I will be in my country. So at least despite having my, like, let's say having like low budget or difficulties in traveling and everything, but I can have that globalization exposure in terms of education, in terms of social life, and in terms of learning more new culture and language. So this is new phenomenon, new paradigm that actually opened in front of us, and I think more and more opportunities will be grabbed. And third is, this is a big discussion, even though our topic is that accelerating the inequality in education. So this COVID has showed that there is this big gap also in education, because, for example, those who cannot have better technical devices, better internet, they are not performing well in education because of online education. They cannot have enough resources, enough knowledge. Yesterday, one of the presenters said that the rich class student perform better than the low class student. The achievement index is lower in the low, like poor class. So that social economic disparities has to be addressed. And in education is even more vital, because education is foundation for all the community, for all the nation, and for the future. So we have to think on that. This is my last remarks, is that, okay, what will be the future? So let me present three portion, because I attended all of the study session and I got like 2 more ideas. Is that we were talking about the blended learning.
Ashwani, you have 2 minutes left. Please wrap up your presentation.
Definitely. Thank you. So we have like, will the future of online education will be just online, like what's happening now, or will it be blended, partly online, partly offline, which was a big discourse of discussion over this period of 1 year to 2 years. And yesterday there was one concept, is that smart plus analog, smart log, right? So it is quite tilted towards the offline classes. So the point was that the blended learning will not work. At the end of the point is that education system should tilt it to the person to person, teacher to student, in physical level of activities. So what will be the future? Will it be online, just online, blended or smart lab? So these are the questions we have folded. But you know, online education shows us that it is like flexible, customized, it is dynamic, and it is global reach. So this pandemic shows us like new approaches, new phenomena in the future of education. And I know South Korea has been dealing really well. And I'm sure that more and more internet students will be coming, but those problems and challenges that I mentioned should be addressed in some time. And that's all from me. And thank you for listening, and hope we'll listen more from the students regarding this matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I'm sure everybody actually had almost the same experience about this one, not only from the student perspective, but also as an educator. Definitely, we do have exactly the same problem. But actually, the Ashini mentioned a lot about this particular one, but obviously this is not from just the pandemic situation, but also we do actually have embedded a lot of problem regarding the international student affairs and as well as the university policy. Don't forget the national government policy as well regarding the pandemic situation. So sometimes that is most likely external aspects. We cannot actually control that. So let's actually see this one at the end of our session with a more lively Q&A session, right? Okay, thank you very much for your very informative talk. And let's move on to our student roundtable. Student roundtable, we do actually have a very interesting student roundtable in here. Based on my roster, so we have 4 student speakers. So let me introduce the student speakers. And first, Chung-Ang, Chung-Ang is the graduate the School of International Studies at the Chung-Ang University, and Diane Han-Ho, majoring global business and finance of the Graduate School of International Studies at Chung-Ang University. And who's next? Okay, Benimana Dios at the Seoul National University, and Margit Eva Borsodi, the Global Studies at the Yonsei University, right? So each presenter will have a 15-minute maximum. So I'll just give it, I think that the 10 minutes will be more than enough, yeah? And then I believe that we do have a little bit more about the Q&A session, which is all beneficial to everybody. So once all presentation is finished, we will come to have the Q&A session. Okay, let's start the student roundtable with Chung-Ang as first, shall we? Okay, so please.
Okay. Okay, morning. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Okay, morning, Honorable Madam Chairwoman and Dean, Professor, and fellow participants who have shown interest in our webinar. I'm very pleased to be here with you guys to deliver a speech and share my insight and experience on behalf of CAU GSIS members. I'm Chung-Ang, who served as a president of Student Council in the last year and majoring AITP Korea English. Today, my speech will consist of 2 portions. I would like to introduce my experience of Student Council and GSIS during the pandemic, and then move to achievement and vision that I have shown to my faculty members. Okay, fellow members, fellow participants, it's us to get to decide what's important to us and the career we want to pursue, the value we want to live by. One of the biggest aspirations for me is to build a bridge between East Asia and Korea. After graduating, I got assigned to the Jakarta branch and witnessed many Korean businessmen who struggled to expand into Asian market. At the time, I was reminded of just how crucial trade with East Asia countries are to our prosperity and success. I came to decide, broaden my horizons, and advance my career in East Asia affairs so that I can bridge these countries. I chose to study in CAU GSIS as it provides an opportunity to deepen my knowledge and keep me updated with global affairs that have changed at a rapid pace. ISP and AITP are two pillars of GSIS, and AITP and ISP approximate 130 to 140 students and 30 to 40 students respectively. You look into the organization of a chart student council. Our professional council consists of 8 members with president, vice president. 4 divisions were working together to maximize student benefit. As the organization to represent GSIS, we step up effort to enhance the brand premium of GSIS. These are photos taken at the entrance exam. We did serve as staff for the entrance exam of GSIS. And as you can see on the right pic, we have shown tireless spirit to support GSIS faculty members. And I'm incredibly honored to address the vision achievement that our team had shown to CAU GSIS. And face-to-face exchanges have been brought to halt, and we are rapidly transitioning to a contact-free society. Amid these unusual circumstances, our GSIS members were never disheartened. Our members have thought ways to stand up for each other and increase our friends to maximum extent as possible. To enhance the environment of study, we have managed to create more than 16 study rooms where members focus on team project and deepen knowledge rather than going to the library or public affair. The members are able to read various newspapers and print class material. In the wake of COVID-19, all of the facilities had been shut down. Many students have had difficulty finding a place to study and attend the Zoom class. Therefore, our team decided to reopen study rooms and had shift to disinfect facilities ourselves in order to make it more secure and comfortable. Furthermore, we promote events to benefit those who came and used the facilities, such as providing an e-voucher for coffee. And second, our team ensured that the bonds between members will be stronger and admiration for each other will be deeper. We posted the status of alumni and provided a platform where alumni share their insight and wisdom with GSIS faculty members, and boosting up a friendly environment regardless of majors or by hosting gatherings. We hosted several outdoor events at one of the remarkable places, the Han River, and helped international students adapt to GSIS by complying with the quarantine measures. In the wake of COVID-19, we provide the platforms where all members contact and each cheer up one another in the era of isolation and only meeting by Zoom. And it was a tremendous pleasure to interact and cultivate a relationship with the international student. Every semester, we hold an orientation which facilitates in process of newcomers and gave a direction towards GSIS life via Zoom. More than anything else, I could not be more proud of our professor and seniors who had to overcome serious obstacles and deal with the added pressure of graduation in such unusual circumstances. And also we put up some board where student and our team exchanges comment, and I would answer the question posted by a student with the will to help them out, and eventually coming out with various events that benefit students in the era of untact. Okay, I'm gonna move on to the vision and achievement that I have shown to my faculty members. Adapt to post-COVID-19 era. In my own life, I found that my greatest personal growth has arisen from times with GSIS. No one could have expected this situation a few years ago. Nonetheless, I could not be proud of everything I have done with GSIS in this grave situation caused by COVID-19. It's fair to say that our generation is facing more profound challenges than any other generation in decades. GSIS is the best university that provides an extensive scholarship program even in the wake of COVID-19. During the vacation, I was chosen to implement a project to inspire me to set a goal in my life under the GSIS scholarship. I could interview several alumni who build up their specialty in their own career and gain the practical advice that I could not otherwise learn from textbooks or library. My proposals for English debate and Korea Culture Exchange Club have been accepted and they have been completed successfully last semester. Okay. Last Korean language and culture, last but not least, I have learned the Korean language and culture club activities with the forms of online and offline. We have learned how to coexist with the era of pandemic and have managed the situation properly. I did teach Korean language to international students who have struggled to understand Korean languages and learning of basic Korean skills via Zoom, and organized the field trip where all of the international students and Koreans realize the tangible and intangible value of Korean culture. And the long battle with COVID-19 has not yet come to an end, upending daily routines and bringing about tremendous changes in the world where we live. As a matter of fact, we are experiencing the loss of daily routines. However, I'm confident that our fate is not dictated by obstacles or COVID-19. Our future is written by the courage of ourselves. And thank you for paying attention to my speech.
Thank you very much for Chung-Ang's presentation. I'm sure this is going to be a wonderful PR PPT for the not only domestic students, but also international students to consider the GSIS, right? So this is going to be really great, actually, complementary, the PPT file. Okay, great. Okay, let's go to the Diane. You also have 10 minutes, so you're ready. Please let me know. Click the slideshow.
Yeah, but the bar is in my way. Can see. Okay, hi, I'm Diane, as she introduced, and I'll be talking about my personal education experience during COVID as an international student. And I guess to start off, my personal background, I'm a first-generation Vietnamese American. I graduated with a bachelor's in applied linguistics with a concentration in TEFL, and a minor in Korean language and culture at Georgia State University. And I graduated in 2019. And then after my bachelor's, I decided to, I guess, continue my education. However, I decided to do an intensive language program instead, and I decided to go to Hanguk Wede, and I guess graduated from their language program back in February 2021, and I'm currently doing my master's in global business and finance here at Chung-Ang. And so the reason why I decided to, I guess, like split up my education experience as a language student and then as a grad student, I think that both are very different in a sense where one, the Korean government doesn't, I guess, identify language students as an actual international students. Like in the earlier presentation, I think the first presentation, where the professor was showing statistics of international students who study in Korea. It explicitly said that D4 visa students, which are language students, were not covered in the statistics. And that, for me, was very interesting because just like any other student, language students do study. We spend 20 hours a week studying Korean language and culture. And so I'll be talking about like my experience pre-COVID and then post-COVID. And so I started language school in August 2019. And of course, since that was pre-COVID, everything was in person, went to school 5 days a week, 4 hours a day. But then when COVID first hit, everyone was like, oh, like, it's not really a big deal. Only like one person has it in Korea. And so everybody was like, oh, it's okay. Like, it's gonna be like Ebola, like how in America Ebola was a thing for a minute, but everybody was like, oh, it's not a big deal. Like, it's gonna go away. Just to be safe, everybody wear masks. And so that started transitioning over. But then the new semester started and COVID didn't go away. And then everything transitioned to online learning. And for, I guess, like everyone, teachers, students, everyone had a lot of problems adjusting. And as a language student, I think it's more of like, because I'm American, I didn't really have as many technical disadvantages, but typically language students here come from Asia and they don't really have the necessities to fully integrate into online learning. And so a lot of my classmates had a lot of trouble trying to do online learning. And in turn, they still paid the same amount of tuition that I did. However, they weren't receiving the same education as they were as to in person. And as time went on, our university for the language program, I think they were bombarded by us complaining about how online learning was insufficient and in a way a waste of our money, because there were plenty of other language companies online doing the same thing, but maybe a tenth of the price. And so a lot of students were dropping out, and our school decided to do hybrid, where if you were very low level, like level 1, level 2, then you were allowed to go to school almost every day. And then as like intermediate and advanced, depending on how many students that were in your class, you might have been able to go to school at least like 2 or 3 times a week. And in turn, that was very helpful for, I would say, like a majority of the students, just because most of the students that go to language school, they are really young. They come like straight out of high school, like 18, 19 years old. And so they're not, I guess, like in a sense, they're not really used to what like university level learning is. And so this transition for them was especially hard from what I was able to tell. And after the hybrid sessions, a lot of students just performed so much better. Like everyone was more interactive, and as a language student, like interaction is key to like your education. And then I guess like as a grad student, I'm currently like in my second semester, and so I've only done online classes at CAU, and personally, like, I'm a kinesthetic learner, so I learn more of through like body movements, interactions. And so for me, online classes is not very beneficial. Of course, like, I learn and I try to participate as much as my internet allows. But I feel like as a grad student, our courses aren't really meant for online learning, just because like it's a lot of information that we're getting in. And then I think with our program, it's a lot more applied learning. So you have to do the work in order to understand what you're learning. And then doing everything online, it kind of just reminds me of like YouTube education videos in a sense. And so I'm not very like happy with online classes. And then I guess with like teaching styles, like a lot of teachers do lecture styles. And for me, like a lecture for 3 hours online, like one of the previous presenters said it's very like monotonous, and people get tired, your eyes hurt. And so I don't really think it's really bettering my education. Whereas to like some courses are very like hands-on applied learning. You like learn how to do problems. You try to work with your professor in order to learn what you're doing, which I prefer that kind of learning more than, oh, like here, this, and this, and then you'll just need to learn it for our exam. But I mean, it's the pandemic, like it's nothing that like can be really done. However, I guess like overall my problem points with COVID education was like school fees versus the quality of education received, because we're paying like a lot of money to go to school. And then as international students, we have to pay more than Korean students. However, we still get the same education, but it's not very, I guess, like accommodating. As in, like one of the presenters said that, oh, there's a lot of language barriers. And even though like GSIS official language is English, a lot of things start off in Korean, but don't get translated to English until later, or they just don't get translated at all. And so I think that's very problematic. And then with like online learning, it's very like isolating. Like I started grad school last semester and there was only one other girl from my major, and we were completely lost. We had almost like no support system, and we didn't even know each other until we met someone else. But it was kind of lonely because like as an international student, most of us, if not all of us, we come by ourselves. Like, we don't really have
Diane, you have 1 minute that you can wrap up your presentation.
Yeah. And so with like COVID, it's not, I guess, like very a happy moment for international students, at least in like my experience. But I guess like positive outcomes of like COVID educations is that our professors are like very lenient, very accommodating. And I think maybe that's just my experience. Like maybe like Chung-Ang professors are just like very nice, very like open to helping international students. And then I guess like another positive outcome is that you can do it remotely. Like a lot of ISP students, from what I know, most of them are back in China doing classes. And so I guess in that sense, it saves them time and money, as well as they are able to pursue their own education. But I guess like for me, suggestions that I would give for this situation would be, rather than having all online classes, maybe switch to hybrid classes, even if it's just for like vaccinated students, maybe. And I heard that might be the case, but I'm not exactly sure. And if not, then I don't think that tuition should stay the same. But yeah, thank you. This is the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much to Diane. Okay, let's move to the Theo.
Good morning again. Do you see my slide? Yeah, as the speaker said, I'm Theos, and it's an honor for me to present in this webinar, and I was invited to be on Student Roundtable. And for me, when I had I have been given this opportunity, I asked myself, like, what can I present as an international student who is studying? By the way, like I'm studying my PhD at Seoul National University in public health, specifically in epidemiology field. So I was like, as someone who is an international student and who is learning from education here from Korea, and this is like, as the webinar says, like to uh, accelerating like the progress of inequality in education. And I was asking myself, like, what can I say as an epidemiologist who is an international student also? And I was like, maybe I will share with the participant with the impact of COVID-19 on education. I know it is the case of South Korea. How about to learn from the case of South Korea and maybe see what is happening in Africa as my continent of origin? So, and I was like, maybe how about to talk about impact of COVID-19 on education in Africa and learning from the case of South Korea. And for me, as an epidemiologist, we are mostly uh, intended, or we are mostly concerned with the numbers, because learn like the occurrence and the distribution of a specific health related specific events in specified population. And here, as of August the 30th, this is like the situation of COVID-19 around the world per WHO region. And as we all know, and as you can see from the numbers, it is showing like all of them confirmed cases of COVID-19. And since I'm about to talk about Africa, and as you can see, it is the least one with few cases of COVID-19, and we will see maybe why. But this is like the numbers of COVID-19 cases as of August 30th. And in case of COVID-19 in Africa, first of all, uh, it's like I wanted to highlight that maybe for most people who are not familiar with Africa, most sometimes they tend to confuse this as like one country, while it's a continent, and countries are very, very different from culture, politics, education system, and everything. And this COVID-19 has affected each and every individual country in Africa separately according to the country. But generally, around the world, this COVID-19 has disrupted living standards at personal level or individual level, at any society, as well as at any country. And in all aspects, this is for sure that the world, it will take many years to be or to return to what it once was, or never even, because this COVID-19 has had many effects on each aspect of life. And as I said from the first slide, Africa is having like few cases. But in the start of the COVID-19, it has been expected that it will critically affect African continent because of like fragile health system, like economic system, and many other factors. But learning from how, because the COVID-19 arrived in Africa a little bit late, starting in February, and because like learning from how the situation was in every countries which experienced the COVID-19 first, and also with some endemic diseases like Ebola, like those kind of endemic diseases which are mostly occurring in Africa. Many countries have already prepared for COVID-19 before it reaches there. And also, there are some climatic conditions which helped African countries to deal with this pandemic, because as we mostly know, not all African countries, but mostly generally the climatic conditions are very warm, and as we know, COVID-19 tend to resist in cold weather. And also there is young population structure in Africa, and with those all factors, it helped like Africa to somewhat uh, manage the COVID-19, so that the cases, as you can see, are a little bit fewer comparing to other WHO regions. And as I mentioned, like I wanted to see like, okay, what can we learn from South Korea case, and try to mitigate or see like what is happening in Africa. As we know, like after the COVID-19 in around the world, some and mostly here in South Korea, like yeah, we didn't experience anything or related like to lockdown, but with the social distancing and trying to hold the pandemic, schools had to close, and also with which had and which still showing some side effects which are negatively related to education, where we are seeing like, as since from yesterday, we have been seeing that there have been increased dropouts in education system in terms of finance and fund, even like lower students, as we saw that international students, because of like maybe movability, some borders are closed, and even like the countries are like maybe trying to contain the situation inside by preventing the imported cases. So lower students situation, like this school closing has affected the education system in many ways, and also with approaches to distance learning or online learning. Also, I can say that it has some good effects, as we say, like some opportunities, and also bad effects. For example, like if we see for online teaching, like we have seen that, yeah, there are some satisfaction and dissatisfaction depending on each case. And also here in South Korea, because of like the good internet, good education infrastructure, it has been kind of successful. But when we see on the Africa side, it's the story, it's a little bit different, because almost every country struggled with lockdown and school closure, and these also had like many side or negative influence when we like any education system has in Africa has experienced like some dropouts, and also in some countries there was no even like some educational teaching and also accommodating to distance learning. We have like the problem of like the infrastructure, digital divide and inequality in those like having access to internet, as well as like some uh, tools to facilitate the education. And this is like the survey which has been carried out in Africa, which showed like some problems that faced by African, mostly like commonly like African education system, where we have like problem of like connectivity, infrastructure and technology. And this is like the survey results, which shows like this mentioned above are the most problems facing in each and every African country. And but we have to learn, as we say, like we have to learn from all of this and see what we can do, because we are going to live with this situation for a little bit of time. And with the prospect and recommendation, I think we need to promote the infrastructure for in this like education, to facilitate like the education for all, not only in Africa but in all world, because it's whether you are developing country or developed country, there is always a room of improvement, and we need to improve that for education for all. And we also need to see if there is a way of like maybe inter or intracontinent cooperation in order like to facilitate this online, and sometimes like this online or distance learning. And also government and all institutions should urgently build like an appropriate distance learning to enable like the curriculum and also professional development, as well as teaching like or training teachers, and also promote, as I said, like the whatever technology is available in order to facilitate the education for all, and also try to learn from this in order to prepare for future, maybe future crisis. Like we need to learn from this and prepare for maybe, we never know. And as an epidemiologist, we never know when any pandemic can occur, but we have to learn from this experience to prepare for the future crisis in around the world. And this is like my presentation, and thank you so much for your kind attention. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Theo. Actually, I didn't get your bio, so I didn't know your major, but you actually hit the really timely topic about the pandemic situation, particularly in case of the African continent. Yes. So
and my major is epidemiology. Sorry.
Epidemiology. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. So that is quite really hit the real time topic with your major. So thank you very much for your sharing. And the last but not in the list, the Majid, you're here.
Yes, can you see my slides? Is sure. It working? Okay, thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm so glad to have heard all of your nice inputs about online learning in Korea. So lastly, I would like to introduce my perspective as a European person. My name is Margit Borshidi, and I am from Hungary, currently studying at Yonsei University. And briefly about my experience in Korea, I have taken a Korean language year this past year, mostly online, with 1 month of hybrid education. But I also experienced conventional or normal education in Korea in 2019, back before the pandemic. So I'm using that as a comparison of my experiences. And I have also experienced online and offline education in Hungary in Europe. So let's get into it. I will briefly touch on compare Korea and Europe in regards to online education, and then pass on to educational facilities in Korea. followed by online and offline learning in Korea in my experience. And also I've asked some of my friends studying here, what did they experience? And lastly, I will provide some suggestions of mine. So Korea versus Europe, how is online and offline education different? So in Korea, some part of the classes are pre-recorded videos during distance learning, whereas in Europe, it's only real-time Zoom or Microsoft calls. And also in Korea, there are some stricter rules such as turning on the camera and sitting on your at the desk. In comparison to Europe, where the rules are less strict, camera is not mandatory to be turned on, only in special cases such as a group discussion or a seminar. Yeah, and lastly, in my experience in Korea, professors pay attention to the students' condition, their mental health. They always ask, how are you today? Have you been feeling okay? Whereas in Europe, it's there are no personal questions and strictly academic content is displayed at classes. So I think that is a positive point in Korea, that professors pay attention to students a bit more, at least international students, in my opinion. However, the biggest challenge is the same, I think, everywhere around the world. Encouraging active student participation in Zoom calls is really hard, as students tend to be more passive and more shy online. And next, I will touch upon the educational facilities in Korea during distance learning. I believe that there was a trend even before, but it was enhanced by online learning, that the importance of libraries and project rooms have tremendously increased, as classrooms are no longer a space students can usually enter. And I think what is a really great touch by usually the Office of International Affairs, that they're assisting laptops during exam periods for students in need so that they're not left behind in online education. And what I found a bit problematic sometimes is that university facilities change their operations, such as shortened opening hours of offices or smaller capacities in libraries and study rooms, which are totally understandable due to 사회적 거리두기. Yeah, due to having to keep the 2 meters distance. And also another problem, which is also totally understandable, but it can cause disruptions, is the internet speed problem in school buildings and dormitories, as professors are usually broadcasting from the school buildings. Yeah, bandwidth disruptions are usually problematic. And I would like to highlight, as a really great part of Korean distance education, is peer or immersion programs with Koreans, such as other community programs, have moved into the online space, and were able to adapt very flexibly, such as starting a problem offline and then moving to online as the distancing levels changed. And I would like to compare online and offline learning in Korea based on my previous experience. Online, I think there are little to no in-class group work, whereas offline, active student participation is really a good thing, and a really, really active. And next, online is less interactive, whereas offline, there's a really strong professor-student interaction and active group work, which I think is one of the biggest pros of Korean education, is that you can learn from your professors and also their personal opinions by engaging in a discussion. So in conclusion, I think that the strengths of Korean offline education may struggle to manifest in online education, such as encouraging student participation and active learning from professor. So one suggestion I would like to bring here, and what I saw that professors are doing, is that increasing the portion of active participation in the final grades, such as professors offer a raise there for 10 to 30%. So you really feel like you have to talk up a class to get a good grade. And yeah, following that, I will bring my suggestions, such as a more active use of breakout rooms, which I haven't seen happening that much, but I think it will really solve the problems touched upon before. And also, I think in Europe, they use a lot of external sites encouraging participation, such as Kahoot, which allows students to participate in a competitive quiz simultaneously during classes. So there's a competitive spirit to engage at class. And I think there's also a need of training students as well as professors on online education software and technology, so there are no disruptions due to technology. And as for hybrid education, in Europe, I've seen, as for the European model, I've seen bi-weekly rotation with flexibility to adapt, which I think Korea has also taken on. But another model which I think is worth mentioning is that they're holding lectures online with seminars only offline, so people cannot, like students can at least meet and interact with each other. Yes, that was it for me. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Maggie. And all for the student presentation. I really appreciated your opinion about this whole difficult situation about the pandemic issue. So, okay, before we actually kind of sort of have a more like the comprehensive, the round table discussion, then I would like to open the floor to the audience if there are any questions. Oh, somebody already. Okay, actually, Mega.
Hi.
Yes, hi.
Hi, I'm from CAS, Singapore. I just wanted to ask the student something. I was a foreign student, and also my colleague Ryan, who's just joined me. So I think the most important part of foreign education is you get to experience the local culture. So as students who are staying and studying online, and also this, I want to know how do you see that working? Because I think, you know, it's very easy to say that we can do it from others and everything. But then, you know, if you don't study in Korea, you'll never get those nuances of studying there. So do you have something to comment on it? Because I really want to know, because this is something which other countries in the region also face. And as I see that Korea is very technologically advanced, is there something that we could do technologically that students, foreign students especially, can get the experience of studying in that country? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so anyone would want to answer that very difficult question about, yeah. That's kind of very fundamental question. Please.
If I understand Mega's question correctly, that it was about how foreign students in South Korea can feel the local atmosphere or experience the local culture. So from last semester, Chung-Ang, GSIS Students Council came up with the idea about pilot project, like having local Korean students and international students make a group and meet online to learn Korean language, or to have some excursions, offline excursions, visiting Korean traditional site, something like that. But it was kind of a pilot system, and the situation was not so good because it was pandemic. And also online interaction has some limitations. So I think there are many rooms to improve in interaction by intermingling Korean students and foreign students. And I find that their attitude or their idea of intermingling are quite different. So it was very difficult to resolve the gap, a cultural attitude gap, but I think it was a good starting point. So first thing to mix together or to meet the local people and experience Korean culture is to have as many opportunities as possible to expose to other students, to Korean students. But we have a limitation because it is pandemic. But in November, as many people get vaccinated, and after midterm, then we hope that we can have a more favorable situation. So I think that is my comment. I wonder whether it satisfies your question.
Thank you so much. It does actually, it gives me a lot of food for thought for our regional webinar, because I feel that there are a lot of students who are facing a similar issue. And I come from, I'm from the cast for organizing this thing, so I have to also look at from the regional point of view. So I really wanted to learn, and I really enjoyed the students because they were so honest, especially Diane. I found it the most honest, and I really appreciate it. It takes really a lot of courage to do this. And really, I think it's something which we all are facing. And as a student myself, I think the best thing about coming to abroad was to immerse on the country's thing. So it's really nice. It's really good what you all are doing. And I would love to know more. So thank you so much. You really answered my question. And we'll continue the discussion in the regional forum, I guess.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much to the professor about this very wonderful pilot program. Obviously, this pilot program definitely will have some sort of fundamental ground to interact with very much in the new wave of this, in case of the Korean term is unpacked situation for all, obviously. Okay, so is there any other question from the floor regarding this, our topic and the presenter and any other component, I guess? Yes, please.
Hello. Well, thank you for actually sharing your experience as an international student in Korea during this unprecedented health crisis. I myself was like an international student too, and that was not very long time ago. And I understand how it is kind of very, I feel like it's unfair because we pay a lot as international student, but they don't think like, they don't really treat us as much as they should. Yeah, I think I can relate to it. Well, my question is more like why, because I know like an online education is like if you're just taking like online classes, like you don't feel like it's a it doesn't feel like you're not really learning because there's a lack of human interaction, those kinds of, especially if you're learning Korean language. And language class is like it's a huge issue because well, by definition, communication is not just done by like verbal exchange, but also like there's a lot of non-verbal expression is engaged in it. So if you don't actually see that, if you don't actually feel that, you might feel like you're not learning anything. And I think I understand that too. So my question is, well, so especially the last year, this year, I think situation getting a little better, little by little. But last year is like, well, everyone is not sure when this is just unsure how this education going on, and everyone to play safe, everything like went online. And so I feel like might not be very different if you just take this class even in your home country. You can just go back and like staying with your family, and then I bet that's a more comfortable and more affordable place for you guys. And why did you guys if you guys stay still decide to stay in Korea? Why do you think that is still good or better staying here to pursue to continue your education? So I think I also like I also love your presentation and Jeonhan 선생님 and 신중권 선생님. But I think that my question is like more targeted to international students. So yeah, thanks. Do you guys getting my question right? Yeah.
Great, thank you. Okay, please, anyone? Yeah, please. It's Megan.
Okay.
Yes,
Should
please.
Well, I think there are several aspects to this. First of all, there might be like some visa issues, like some universities don't really allow you to engage in education if you don't have the D2, and if you're not in the country, you cannot have the D2 visa. And like some of the scholarship students, we have to stay in the country to get the scholarship, and if you're not here, then we're not tuition free anymore. So yeah, you would have to pay normally. And thirdly, there's the time difference issue. If I were to take classes in Hungary or like in Europe, I would have to take classes at 3 a.m. and that's not feasible for everyone. So I hope that answers your question.
see. Okay, thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions from the floor?
If I may add something.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
From what Margaret mentions, apart from like maybe being on a scholarship, and if you know here you go not going to receive or time difference or what, but also specifically myself, yeah, it comes also to those like financial issues or like in terms of connectivity, like as I said in my presentation, like okay, we all know that Korea is like most, like in terms of connectivity, is among the best. And if you go, like you are not going to learn, like sometimes with like problems of internet and accessibility, and also which comes also to the problem of time difference. And also like we have to embrace, as I say, like as an epidemiologist, we have to embrace the time we are, like the moments we are having, as you know, like desperate measures, I mean desperate time, you have to call for desperate measures. It's like we are not learning as if we should learn like if we are offline or in the normal situation, but again, at least we are learning something. And if we don't keep finding like a room to improve or something, what what will happen like maybe for a next future crisis? So learning through it, experiencing like these all barriers and these all obstacles will also help us like to tackle like maybe for future crisis. And also as like as I say, like as an international students, we also need like to see like all those other factors, and then to try to learn from them, even if like going back home and be with our family will be better, but also those other factors, they push us like to learn from this, which are like also those desperate measures we need to follow because we are in those desperate times.
I totally agree on the Matthias mentioned about it. Okay, so we actually have a 2 more minutes, but as a moderator. Oh, yeah. Okay, Dida, could you please?
Thank you, Professor, for the opportunity. I really thanks for the speakers. I really enjoy and learn a lot from you guys. And I was very interested with the mentorship program that mentioned by Professor Jin Jung Pop. But as a student at Chung-Ang TSIS, I want to clarify with you whether that program is available for us graduate students, and what can we do to be part of that program, because yeah, I think it's a very good program for us international students. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we actually have around the 2 minutes left. So as a moderator, as I said before, as a moderator, I have the authority to wrap up this whole wonderful session with some comments about it. I totally understand that education, one of the biggest hit by this pandemic situation, one of the biggest negative impact by the pandemic situation, that is education system. Because even though you have the wonderful facility, but any type of wonderful facility for the, how to say, just the brand new educational, how to say, the facility, but you cannot help to prevent these types of the pandemic situation as well. At the same time, as you know very well, education provides one of the most important opportunity for everybody by person-to-person contact. Person-to-person education is one of the best exercise and one of the best, how to say, effectiveness from all of the country. However, unfortunately, pandemic situation actually prevents this type of one of the wonderful opportunity for everybody. That's why everything, actually everyone had a dissatisfaction. Everything actually had a lot of frustration, not only from the student perspective, but also the instructor's perspective as well. So today we actually learn a lot about it from the student perspective. This is going to be one of the biggest frustration, how we are accommodating this frustration with much more better results, not only from the how to say instructor themselves, at the same time the university, as well as the national government, the policy as well. So this whole collaborated effort to definitely create a better result in the future, in the near future. I really hope so. Professor John, is there anything you want to add?
So I think Sida asked a question to Dr. Shin Jung-bo whether mentor-mentee program is available for graduate students, GSIS students. Maybe you can later answer to Sida that part, because international students are very interested in that program.
Okay. So I thought this is the mentor system is not available yet based on the Dr. Shin's presentation, in my personal understanding. So that's why I actually got the Sida's question about this one. Am I right, or Dr. Shin, you need to add a little bit more about the information about the mentor system for the graduate students?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yes.
Okay. The answer is yes. Yeah. All the students of the Chung-Ang University. If you any the question in the details, okay, let me let me get your the contact number, okay? I will give you the more information and after in the conference, okay? Okay, I enjoyed listening to everyone's presentation and learn many valuable content. Actually, there are no. I think it seems everyone feels the same sense in the COVID-19 era. Yeah, it is a difficult time for all, but also an opportunity to make something new. Actually, the hard to comment into the detail here, but I'd like to final comment very shortly. Just can I get 1 minute?
Sure, please.
Okay. Yeah. In the first page of COVID-19, we had issues within the tuition reform, but eventually related to the online classes, it should sort of the consensus between all sides and student and university management. I think the same thing for international students. In terms of opportunity and the cost effectively, I think the market responded because international students can get their degree in their home country with no extra cost. Frankly, there are many issues to handle it relating with the COVID-19. I don't think we have to do on the specific strategy, or what I felt during the 20 years of university administration is that we should be out of place. To the time we encounter right now, at this time, it is about the balancing of power between the needs of student or parent and the university management, the emerging from the free and competitive in the global higher education market. There's nothing more and nothing less. I think in my search, what the current world we are living wants is just the future. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much for the final comment from the Dr. Yes, please. Could you turn on your audio?
Okay, so moderator, before you finish, then we would like to have a photo time.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Then everybody, would you turn on your video if you want to appear in the picture? So we are having a photo time, so you can do whatever you want. So I will say 1, 2, 3, then our GSIS student council member will take a picture of you. Okay, so maybe we need to do twice. Okay, so first time, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, and one more time, please. Okay, please be ready. Right? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Professor John. I completely forgot about this prototype. Okay. Okay, so this is my final, real final comment about this, the wonderful session. I actually learned a lot as the instructor. I learned a lot about the student, the perspective, particularly the international student. As actually, I was one of the international students in the United States back then. So I totally understand what you have such a great time, at the same time, really hard time in the foreign soil. So I totally understand your frustration. Definitely, I have a really wonderful experience as an international student back then. So I really hope you do have exactly the same wonderful experience in Korea, and during your stay in Korea, I do wish you have the wonderful achievement, not only your personal affair, but also your academic affair as well. I all thank all of you, the presenter, as well as the student speaker in this session. Also, I really appreciated your participation from this audience, including the Professor John and Professor Ji-Young-sik and everybody else. So I wish everybody good luck and have a wonderful, wonderful day. So this concluded this webinar. Thank you very much for everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Professor Chung. Thank you very much for your wonderful moderation for today's session. It was really wonderful. So before we go, I wonder whether Mrs. Mega from KAS would like to have a concluding remark. Mega?
Sure. Thank you so much. Firstly, a big clap to the moderator. Excellent moderation. I think the biggest task we have seen in our webinar is to keep the timing and also not to be rude. So I was just talking to my colleague Ryan, who's here, that how do we keep the time and not be rude, because it's so difficult to keep someone on time. But I think you've done an excellent job. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Again, thank you to all the students. I really enjoyed this. Just to let you know, and this is the first time we're officially announcing it, and it's a real pleasure to announce it in the Korean webinar, that the regional webinar after this will happen from 22nd to 24th November. We are having a students and teachers forum. It's a little different from this, because we will actually get the students on the forum to discuss your problems. And so you all can have because we have seen that when students are talking, teachers are complaining, or it's like everybody has their own problems. So we get a forum, regional forum. We'll have 13 countries. I'll be in touch with Sunye and I'll be sending her all the details. So do keep out for a lookout for that. And I would like to invite all of you there, because I think you all have so much to share. And I'm really looking forward to each one of your participation. Also, thank you so much, Sunye. I think this program was really fantastic. This is my first South Korean webinar as such. Also, I don't think I don't remember going to South Korea for a conference as well. So I think it was really good, and I really realized what I was missing out on, from the content to the participant selection to the topic selection to everything. Thank you so much. A big thank you to Ashwini. I think he was the main person who actually got us together. To Dr. Pandey, who I don't think is here, but he's the one who actually joined us, to Ashwini. To Sunwe, thank you so much. I think no words of gratitude can explain how thankful we are to you for organizing this excellent workshop. But our journey doesn't end here. It's just the beginning of the journey. We want to actually develop this network from this year on. And we just hope that you all will be part of this network. We have, as I said, 13 countries, and we want to share experiences. We want to learn from each other. And we just hope that you will find value in our program as much as we found value in your experiences. So with this, I would like to end it, but I would also like to ask you all to follow our CAS Spaces page in Facebook, because that's where we'll have all the updates. Of course, I will keep Sunne updated about everything. So I don't want you to bombard her with any questions. So please feel to get in touch with me. Or it's our web. My email is there. Also to my colleague Ryan. Also he's also there. Or to our CAS Spaces pages. Please, let's continue this partnership, because we really enjoyed. And honestly, I'm so glad and so thankful to Ashwini for this thing, because without South Korea, I think CAS Spaces would not have been completed. Final words, last sentence. We are having a conference in Bhutan next week, a webinar. with the students forum. So I would like to welcome all the students to go and see what are the experiences. It's not compulsory. It's just like I'm just inviting you all. If you all can come and share your experiences, it'll be really good. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sunny, again. I don't think I can ever stop thanking you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have 1 minute, just 1 minute. I just want to, because thank you, Mega. And whenever Dr. Pandey approached me for this webinar, and I was excited, but I was worried whether I can connect CAS and the Korea. So I talked with Professor Chung-Ang and then Professor Chonsone. I have no words to explain gratitude and thankful to Professor Chonsone and Chung-Ang. The way they coordinated this whole webinar is absolutely tremendous, and I learned a lot from that coordinations. I learned how to coordinate, how to arrange international partners, local partners. So it's my pleasure, and thank you. It's been a great conference, I guess. So thank you, Professor, especially Chonsone and Chung-Ang, Mega, Cash, and everyone, and all the students also who came here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for everybody. Okay, have a wonderful day today. Okay, great.